Thank you for joining with us today. I'm Fred Davis, the pastor of Mending Fences Cowboy Church in Lebanon, Tennessee. We meet at the Starstruck Farm on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. It's located on Highway 109, just south of Gallatin. We would invite you to come and be with us for our services on Sunday. I know the Lord would richly bless you. We are studying the book of Ecclesiastes. It's in the Old Testament. It is a book that was written by Solomon. Solomon was a son of King David. Solomon was also the king of Jerusalem. And Solomon has been evaluating life, looking to see what is life all about. He starts out by simply saying that life is meaningless. He has evaluated everything that goes on in life, and that was his conclusion. So now he's beginning to give some examples in chapter 1. We're going to begin with verse 6, but what he is talking about in the first part is this, that the earth remains the same. The sun goes around the earth and it comes back up, and then it goes around and it becomes dark and night, and then daylight comes and nothing changes. I know that those who support global warming would say to you that the world is going to burn up or the world's going to be destroyed if we don't change our behavior. But the truth is, for generations, the earth has not changed. Here in Ecclesiastes, Solomon is saying that the world never changes. So the example that he gave was the sun in comparison to the earth. So in verse 6, he gives us another example. The wind blows south and then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Isn't that something? And it's the truth. Have you ever tried to chase the wind? You can't do it. We don't know where it comes from, and we don't know where it's going, but we feel its impact. When hurricanes come, tornadoes come, we see the devastation of the wind. But he's saying that the wind can blow south and then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea never fills up. That's amazing. You think of all the rivers in all the world, around the world, they flow into the sea. But the sea never fills up. But we know this is what goes on. Then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. It is a constant cycle that takes place. Solomon is telling us we see these things happen, but nothing changes. Verse 8, everything is wearisome, he says. Beyond description. We can't explain it. The sun goes around the earth and it continues to do that time and time again. The winds blow from the south to the north and then from the north to the south. We don't understand it. We don't get it. We cannot get a hold of it. Well, the rivers flow to the ocean, but the ocean never fills up. In other words, the streams never back up because of the ocean. Now, they may back up because of rainstorms that come and dump tremendous amounts of water on the rivers, but they all flow to the ocean, and that's where they end up. So as he thinks about all of this, he is simply saying everything is wearisome. No matter how much you see, we're never satisfied. No matter how much you hear, we're never content. He's making a point here that is so true. Think about it, if you will. No matter how much you see, you can travel the world and you can see some of the most beautiful places on the face of the earth. For me, I like the mountains. There's some beautiful scenery that is there. And when you see the mountain streams that flow down into the valleys, it is a most beautiful, beautiful experience. It's wonderful. I remember the first time that I saw the ocean. I was amazed how that the ocean and the sky come together in one place in our view. Well, that's a beautiful thing. But no matter how much you hear or how much you see, we are never content. In other words, the vast beauty of the earth will never satisfy the soul. That's what Solomon is saying. Verse number 9. History merely repeats itself. And boy, is it true. One of the great fears that I see going on in the world today, our children in our schools are not being taught the history of the world. And that is bound to bring destruction, because we should learn from history, but we don't. We tend to reproduce history. And so we can look at history and all that is taking place. And then he says, nothing under the sun is truly new. And it's so very real. Nothing is new. It's always the same. It repeats itself generation after generation after generation. It continues to move forward. As a matter of fact, when a person lives in this world and they pass away, the longer they have been gone, the less we think about them. And it's not long until those who have passed away have no impact on the world. The world continues to move forward. Sometimes people say, here is something new, but actually it's old. We in America look at our technology and we look at all the accomplishments and the great inventions and all the things that have gone on. But when you study history and you look at the Roman Empire, they were extremely advanced for their day. So we see nothing is new. Nothing is new. But actually, it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. But we don't view it that way. We don't look at it that way, but that is the way it really is. Nothing is new under the sun. Nothing, we don't remember what happened in the past and in future generations. No one will remember what we are doing now. Do you hear that? Take future generations. They're not going to remember what we've done. It's as though we're a drop of water in the ocean. When that little drop of water hits the ocean, it dispenses and it's gone. It's like it did not exist. We don't like to admit it, but we have very little impact on the world. Well, Solomon in this book is known as the teacher, the one that is trying to teach us what is going on. In verse 12, I, the teacher, was king of Israel, and I lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore wisdom, everything being done under heaven. This gives us a little light on what Solomon was doing. He was very powerful. He was considered the wisest man that ever lived. He also was the wealthiest man that ever lived. And so he is saying to us, he is beginning to search and to look into the world to see what is new, what is different than we have seen under the sun. And here's what he says. I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence in the human race. I observed everything going on under the sun, and really, it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. When we evaluate life, it goes around and around. When we look at what is going on, it is like chasing the wind. If you caught it, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Now, I know that history tells us that we've harnessed the wind and we see the big windmills out west. But when you look at the world in its entirety, it is so insignificant what we have accomplished. So he's trying to present to us what is really going on in the world. In verse 15, he says, what is wrong cannot be made right. What is missing cannot be recovered. When you disappoint someone or you do a harm to someone, you can't change it. You can ask for forgiveness. You can plead that people would forgive you and you apologize and all of this, but the honest truth, you cannot make wrong right. It's impossible. Well, this is a little different than what we see in the New Testament. And this helps us to better get a grip on life and everything that is taking place. I hope that you'll continue to read with us and that we will learn from all the wisdom that Solomon is sharing with us. May you have a blessed day.